Hi.
Wow, I'm reaching at 21. I'm like,
Oh, this is so hard, you know? Like, I feel you, girl. Like, we'll cry on each other's shoulders and stuff like that and go about. And yeah, that was like, that day then I left early. I can't remember why I left the party early.
Family.
Oh, family? Oh, yeah, because I guess it was Christmas and probably spent Christmas with your family at some point, right?
yeah.
That way I can get presents and things like that, because, you know, well, Christmas wasn't about Jesus then. Christmas was about, hey, let's get some gifts, hallelujah. Yeah, so then I started coming back to Bible study, though, after that. Like, I was kind of like, all right, you know, this whole thing, and it was that class, that day where I was kind of like, that Bible study where they sat and talked to me. It was either, maybe yours was the next time after, but it was either the first class we took. Right. And I sat down and we listened to all the class, and then afterwards they stayed and they talked to me from probably about 9 o'clock till maybe about 12, 1 in the morning about the relationships and about soul ties, about sex, about all this stuff and what it was doing in my life and how I was, you know, why I was miserable, why I was going through the things I was going through, you know. Any relationships I was in, I truly wasn't happy because my heart was in other places or my mind was in other places, you know, and I didn't have a control over lust and things like that, over pornography, you know. You'd say you're in a relationship with somebody, and I think I never thought about it from a girl's perspective to realize, like, hey, you know, you're supposed to be with this guy, and this guy's supposed to be, you know, like with you, yet he takes pleasure in somebody else and that kind of thing. And I never thought about it from those aspects, never went about any of that. And so, but I had enough. I just knew it was miserable. I knew it sucked. I hated it. And then I finally decided, you know, after that class, like, man, after talking to you guys about this, like, I argued and fought and did all kinds of stuff for hours that night, because it was just like, man, like, you guys can't be right. And then we had the little, Alina has her wonderful little illustration with, you know, like different foods and stuff like that. And, you know, talking to me about food, that works. Like, oh God, we like food, right? You know, you put food in it sticks, you know. So talking about the food and talking about that and soul ties, we decided, and I went forth and said, you know, let's break these soul ties and let's break all the things, you know, that I've said in the past. Let's break this addiction to pornography. Let's break all of this and truly get free. And it was at that point that I was truly at the point of repentance to say, like, God, you know, I trust you. I truly trust you. You know, I said, God, like, I trust you for a job. You know, there was a few times where even still full heathen days, and bless God, I tell you, God, seriously, God's like, you know, I was a straight on heathen, like, you know, church Sunday and Saturday night was partying, drinking, all kinds of stuff. Come to church, you know, yeah, bless God, hallelujah, woo, and all that stuff. But God would still provide. I mean, God still like there was a lot of times where jobs and things like that were necessary, and it's still God provided. And so, you know, I learned to trust God in other areas, but it was that point that I truly decided I'll trust God in every aspect of my life. I'm gonna really, like, take this serious. Start taking the classes seriously. Start taking the teaching seriously. Start taking you guys seriously and all of this, and start taking my relationship with God seriously. Not just letting it be once a day or once a week, that kind of thing, but rather letting it be every day. Letting it be that God, like, you know, God said, I you know, seek first my kingdom, and all these things will be added to you, you know. So I started thinking, you know, if I can trust God for finance, I can trust God for material things, I can trust God for, you know, a car or you know, a nice job, or God to give me some strength, or God to give me healing, God to give me all this. But, you know, it was kind of like, yeah, God, you know, I'll figure out the white thing myself, you know. I can do that, right? And I'll figure out the whole, you know, sex and lust thing. That's God. You stay out of that, you know. That I got this one, God. Go ahead and take a seat or something. And I decided actually to trust God and say, God, you provide all these other things, and I trust you that you can provide a wife as well, and somebody that I won't be miserable with, somebody that I can give myself to and truly be happy with, and truly love and get my life right, and start seeking you and seeking righteousness, seeking myself and learning about myself and getting rid of, in that process and in that transformation process, I started becoming involved with the church a lot more, helping out with we tore down the old building. We started building on the van and things like that. I just started spending a lot more time with you guys and in prayer and things like that, and trusting God. And I remember before I left, I was sent to study abroad in New Zealand, which was like super cool. It was a great experience and things like that. But it was kind of a good ploy the way these things were set up, right? I mean, I was just repenting, just actually starting to become a part of the church and become a part of this and get myself established. And then maybe a week or two later, I'm on a plane to a whole other country, 18 hours ahead of these guys and everything else. And yeah, I gotta admit, the first few weeks I went there, in New Zealand the drinking age is 18, so you got a bunch of kids who are fresh out of their parents' houses, and literally all the clubs there too. So they open up, what they do in New Zealand, right, is they open up the dorm rooms for the kids to come in like a week early. And then all the clubs in town, everybody's promoting crazy specials, no cover charges. You come in, you waste all of your money on alcohol and things like that. You guys are crazy. You guys are 18. Your livers are nice and fresh. So come on in and destroy them. That kind of thing. And so the first night, I remember I was like, I shouldn't be drinking. I'm trying to get my life right here. I'm trying to do good. But then enough pushing from everybody, and I decided. The second night, then I went out. The third night I went out, and the third night I bought more alcohol, and then the third night was like, the third night I went out, it was crazy, right? I was in there, and now the New Zealand dollar is like a little bit cheaper than American, but still, it was $70 altogether on alcohol. It was ridiculous. It was so much. And not only that, not just $70 at the bar, but we had alcohol back at the room as well. So.
Did you take baths?
Huh?
Did you take baths in alcohol?
No, he was pre-gaming.
Oh yeah.
What? Pre-game?
Gaming.
It was pre-game and it was yesterday game, and it was like, hey, this drinking thing, I forgot how fun this was, and I remember it was called like a box party or whatever, so you had to dress up as something that started with a C. And so me and my friend, we decided we were going to be commandos. So I had a black shirt on. We went to the mall and bought these like $50 green pants because we couldn't find anything else to wear. But we were like, yo, we got to look good. We got to be in there like looking like the commandos, And so we went in and yeah, lots of alcohol and lots of jumping all over the place. Well, I'm trashed, tequila and vodka and all that fun stuff, And there's one point I remember I'm on the floor, fist pumping, doing my thing, music's all loud, and everything goes quiet. I sober up for like just a second in here. What are you doing here? And then that was it. And hit me like, you see the pictures on Facebook sometimes of people in the club and they catch a good picture of them and they're like, and everybody else is dancing hardcore, but they're just sitting there. And so yeah, I was, all of a sudden I forgot that, about all the alcohol and really did ask, wait, what am I doing here? And kind of sat down then and left it, and kind of moseyed on over to a table and really sat down some more to think, like, what am I doing here? I mean, if I'm supposed to be right, I know what all this is doing, all the like being drunk and being all this, and it's bringing back lust, it's bringing back all this stuff, and why do I even find this fun? When I was a kid, I didn't really find any of this fun, and so I'm kind of sitting there at the table. I finally decide, all right, I'm going home. So I get up and go in a taxi and go home. It's kind of crazy to think, all the alcohol I had in my system, yet the minute God spoke to me at that moment, the minute God really hit me to like slap the drunk off me, and literally like slap the drunk off me. it's no joke. Like I you know, $70 wasted, man. Come on, like.
That's what they call the website.
You're wasting time.
True?
Yeah, true. And so yeah, then during that time, I decided like, you know, I'm done with this, and kind of got involved with the church there. I found there was a Christian club there in New Zealand, and joined those guys and started. I mean, I was still Skyping home with LD here, and still being part of things, and got to be a part of the church there. Did a lot of traveling, and really learned there. Not really learned, but discovered a lot more of like truly praying, truly having a relationship, hearing God, and certain things of that were, you know, not just praying to God, not just having it be a prayer, you know, that you're like, hey God, hi, thank you for this food, amen, and that's all you talk about to God for the day. Or even, you know, like, hey God, I really want this to work out for me, but I don't know, just for it to be one-sided and kind of having one-sided prayers, or you're praying to God, but to pray and to hear it back, to hear what God's saying back to me, even if it's as simple as, you know, I love you. And I said earlier that Serge asked everybody, you know, why do you believe in God? So let's ask, why do you believe in God?
He's awesome.
Why do you believe in God? You don't know, and but for me, that voice there, that I love you was what really, I mean, when the full repentance, or not full repentance, but starting to come to God. I told my story about I went through a breakup, and this was like March 2014-ish. Would it be March 2014?
February. No, it was March.
It was March 2000. I'm trying to remember the dates though, because then, no. Okay, so March 2014, December 2015 was Christmas party.
Yeah, Christmas party.
Okay, so yeah.
No,
Yeah.
December 2014.
December 2014
Yeah.
was first party. No, because then I went to Spain, and that's when my heathen days started in Spain, because that's when you came back and I left.
Yeah, 14.
Yeah, that's
14 was your cool
Then again,
retirement.
Rod just like,
And then 15 you went to New
But
Zealand.
that's the connection.
15.
yeah, that's how we
Being
got
abroad and like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah. Oh man, that tried to derail me. No, it didn't, because so I went through a breakup. It wasn't the end of my heathen days, but it was the start of my Christian days, and I went through a breakup, and that one was hard on me. I mean, it was kind of one of those things where I truly convinced myself, like, and I told myself I'm never gonna love anybody else. I'm always gonna love this girl. I mean, if I don't have her, I can't have anybody, you know. And I was truly a mess at the end of that relationship, and it was the day after like the breakup and stuff, and it's funny, right? Because when I first bought a gun, my parents didn't want me to have one. They were very adamant against it, and part of that reason was because a few people in my grandma's family committed suicide, and it was people that were the happiest people, the people who, you know, were outgoing generally. I mean, you look at me, you think probably, you know, hey, he's a happy guy, and same thing with a lot of these people. They're outgoing, there's nothing, it's not like they're in their room crying all night or crying, being upset. No, they're really outgoing people. But these people, you know, my grandma knew they loved, killed themselves. The same thing with the gun. They had a gun and they had access to it, and so they did it. And so, but I reassured my parents, like, I'm not, like, no, I don't think like that. I don't think like that. You know, I don't think about killing myself. I'm not gonna do that. Like, I understand whatever happened to them happened, but it can't happen to me. It's not going to happen to me. You know, I love my life. I love my family. I don't have a reason to leave. You know, but in that moment, it is when you really learn that it's not your own thoughts. It's not you who's thinking that, and it's not you who's pressing that. But it was in that moment. You know, I'm weak. I'm crying my eyes out over this whole breakup and stuff, and the remembered, hey, I have a gun in the trunk. And the next thing that came was, you could pull that trigger. You could kill yourself right now, and this would be over. This would be easy, right? I mean, the pain of this, you're not going to find anybody else anyways, right? So you could just leave, and things would be easier this way, right?
Yeah, it sounds like easy.
It's easy way out, and that voice that was hitting me so hard. Everything else was quieted except for that right there, which was you could kill yourself. You know, you're never, and everything else. You know, the road. I'm on the road, and the sounds of the car. Everything else is silent. My tears, my crying is silent, and all I hear is, you know, you can kill yourself. And it was at that point, you know, I pulled over because I was, you know, hearing that and being in that position, I was crying. I couldn't drive anymore. And I pulled over and like said, like, God, like, if you're there, just God, and just truly reached out. You know, it wasn't a matter of saying, you know, the kind of prayers of the, you know, bless this food, God, and empty things are just kind of, you know, things you feel like you should do. No, it was truly me reaching out and opening up to God, and in that moment, I heard him say, you know, I love you, and felt him there, and knew he was there with me. And I mean, I'll say, like, did I stop crying? Did I stop having the whole? No, I continued crying. I still continued going through the heartbreak of the breakup and things like that. But him saying right there, you know, I love you. Don't do this. And I care. You know, I felt like nobody else was here and nobody else knew what was going on. You know, my family's at home, and I have no doubt that my mom loves me. That my mom is very close to my grandma. You know, it's not something that if I wouldn't have told them, if I would have, you know, said to them what was going on, they would have talked to me for hours and would have been able to comfort me and that kind of thing. But at that moment right there, and at that point in time, I didn't have anybody. Nobody was really, I mean, I was going through the breakup and I was upset about things, but hey, my parents just figured it's another breakup, just keep quiet, he'll move on. And siblings, you know, nobody truly was there, and I didn't reach out. And it was at that, you know, when you really, Satan was attacking me at the weakest point to say, you know, just it's easy this way. It's easier to go out this way, and that's one of the reasons I believe in God, is because at that moment when I had nobody, when nothing was going right, when I truly thought to kill myself, God said I love you. God said there, and that same voice at that point that saved me from pulling the trigger while I was in the car is the same one that just day to day, you know, hearing God and praying. Sometimes it's as simple as, I love you, my son. Mm-hmm. And to each and every one of you here, God views you as his child, and the same thing, that he loves you. If you listen, he will say to you, Steve, I love you. Sophia, I love you, my daughter. Helen, I love you. You are my daughter. And no one can separate you from my love. If you'll listen, if you'll give God that chance and cut down some of the things that are in the way, and cut down the idea, oh, it's just my thinking, or oh, you know, I don't really care to hear, God doesn't speak to me, or I used to think that too, you know, while I was still not saved. I used to think, why would God care about me, right? Why there's kids in Africa who are hungry. There's wars in the Middle East and stuff. I have a good life. I mean, my dad wasn't in the picture. My dad killed himself when I was 16, excuse me. And I didn't really have a father figure in the picture, but I had my mom and grandma, and you know, I think they did a pretty good job. Mom was split between mom and dad sometimes, so you know, I felt like, hey, and we had a nice house. My family, like, there was one point we had like 2 Wii's, 2 Xbox 360s, and all because my parents would just buy them because us kids would argue over them, and so I was like, man, like, people would come to our house because it was a chill spot, you know. We've got everything and got things. My life's not that hard, you know. I do good in school, I have friends, you know, they're kind of cool. So why do I need God, and why does God care about any little thing that I'm going through? Like, oh, I'm not happy today, or I'm feeling kind of depressed just because, you know, Johnny doesn't like me, or because, you know, Susie broke up with me, or something like that. And then that was the thing, and you know, not many people could ever answer that when I asked them. Not many Christians could ever say, you know, why God would care. They just told me, hey, you need Jesus, or hey, you need, like they'd argue about the try and meet me at science point, which I'm sorry, none of those Christians could ever meet me on that point, because I would destroy them, you know? It's like, why are you arguing with me about like evolution and God created the world? Did you not see like science and scientific evidence to say like this world's been here for billions of years? Like, come on, man, you're not going to win this argument. What do you got to say to that? And then now you're trying to tell me that God's speaking, God cares about me. Yeah, right. Like, get out of here. You know, shut up, leave me alone. That kind of thing. And that's how I treated a lot of it. And that's how I took it in. And but to answer that question now, why would God care? It comes back to the same thing which we talked about earlier. Some of you were here, some of you weren't, which was God is love. And for you, I mean, we said, hey, how do you show love? And if you think if I tell you, you know, Eric, hey, I love you, but let me ask you, if I truly tell you right now, like say, hey, you know, yeah, I love Eric, what evidence do you have to really believe it? You don't. And that's kind of it. You know, that I haven't seen you in years, and so there's no love shown there. So for you to say, you know, oh, I love you, is just kind of nothing. And so the same thing kind of goes with the kingdom of heaven here, the kingdom of God. If God is love, but you know, what is love if there's nobody to receive it? And nobody for him to truly show it to and say, you know, and show that love. And if you'll give God a chance, and that's just it too, it's loving us enough to not force it on us, and just to let us accept it, and meet us on our terms, meet us when we decide, you know, I'll hear from God, I'll accept your love and go forth with it. I'll believe that you truly told me I'm your son, and that you truly do love me, as it is written, with the same love that you love Jesus Christ. And truly accept that, and realizing that it's written, and realizing that, and trusting God, and truly so I started with my story, hey, I trusted God for a wife, and you know, I didn't add into the fact that he did tell me. It wasn't too long after that either. I mean, that was one of the big things, and my favorite blessing was God truly revealing to me who it was. And I mean, she's sitting in this room, so you know who it is, so you don't. This wonderful woman over here, and it's funny too. Huh? Over here, Alina's child.
Yeah.
Go ahead and stand up, shake your head to everybody, you know. Hi. And trusting her, and not only for me trusting God and saying like, hey, I trust you, and God telling me her, and I was kind of like, oh, don't do that to her. She's a Christian girl, you know, a really Christian girl. I'm dirt of the dirt. You know, sinner, I'm way down here, and she's all, what are you doing? Like, you are pulling her down, like I'm like a lead ball, and she's like, you know, a wonderful helium balloon or something, way up here, just always floating, and I'm just, don't do that. Oh my goodness, what are you doing that to her for? But then he told me, hey, she's known a lot longer too, so that even better, you know, she's been trusting God for 22 years to know who her husband is, and God tells her, hey, it's that guy who's kind of crying over some other girl, and then gets another girlfriend a little while later, and then another one.
In the name of Jesus! Get out!
Seriously.
I'm going to, right?
And trusting, back on trusting God there, and trusting God, I mean, a lot of us here can give testimonies on trusting God. She trusted God in that situation, and maybe I'll let you talk about it, because who better to talk about how you felt going through that, and seeing, hey, you know, you've got a heathen guy out here that God keeps telling you, he's the one. So.
And God just took you. Now you can fly.
Yeah, now I'm a healing boy too, right?